Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable. IoT India Congress 2019, the platform of platforms for the Internet of Things.
Bengaluru, India's IT hub, recently hosted the 4th edition of the IoT India Congress 2019. Organized by the IoT panel of the Institution of Engineering and Technology, or the IET, the Congress focused on the rapidly expanding applications of IoT technology. This year's edition of the IoT India Congress was supported by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology and Niti Aayog. The marquee two-day event's theme for this year was mainstreaming the Internet of Things. All registrations were made completely paperless and visitor entries were facilitated through facial recognition. The event saw participation from over 1,650 visitors and 80+ speakers comprising industry leaders, government stakeholders and change makers of the IoT industry, both national and international. This edition featured keynotes, panel discussions, use case sessions and future tech spotlight sessions. The IoT India Congress 2019 edition was inaugurated through a mobile app by all attendees, making it a truly democratic and digital launch. The welcome address for the IoT India Congress 2019 was delivered by Nigel Fine, Chief Executive of the IET UK.
I'm absolutely delighted to be here today, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the IoT India Congress 2019, organized by the Institution of Engineering and Technology, the IET. The Internet of Things was the very first technology platform that we focused on. And last year, we launched the future of mobility and transport. And earlier this year, we launched the future of work. The deliberations of this event will be summarized and looked at through a policy lens and submitted for consideration by respective ministries at the end of this Congress. And on behalf of the IET, please enjoy the IoT India Congress 2019. Thank you very much.
Everybody knows what is IoT. Now the vision is how to make India a leader in IoT. This year, we are trying to work on seeing the existing problems in the industry. We have taken those problems and tried to work out what are the solutions for those problems so that the mass implementation can happen.
We are increasingly observing how data generated by connected devices is helping businesses run more efficiently, gain insight into business processes, and make real-time decisions. The key factors driving IoT growth in India are innovation in product offerings, increasing operational efficiencies, and improving customer experience.
What is a must for IoT in the future? There are 6 pillars, very easy. The first point is we are living in a shared world. People are less buying things. People are using things. They're using it for an hour, for a day, or whatever. My generation is buying a car. My kids never will buy a car. They will use the car for an hour or for a day or whatever. Think about it, because it has a very strong impact on IoT. And if you're talking about peer-to-peer, you're talking about more technology in the back, like blockchain. Blockchain is a must for the future. This is my personal view.
I'm going to talk to you about Petrus, which is the National Centre of Excellence in Internet of Things and Cybersecurity. Petrus stands for Privacy, Ethics, Trust, Reliability, Acceptability and Security. This is a project where the user partner is the building's research establishment. This has enabled us to look at the deployment of Internet of Things in future buildings.
The chief guest for this year's event was Secretary of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Ajay Prakash Sahni, who also delivered a keynote.
First of all, I would like to compliment the IET India for having taken a leadership position in creating this kind of an event and reaching the 4th edition. I find IoT as one of the most exciting things among all of these, technology terms that we keep hearing. Because finally it's IoT which takes it deep into our real world. Wish you all the best. Thank you.
The IoT India Congress 2019 also witnessed the launch of 8 white papers in the smart cities, healthcare, digital communications, manufacturing and skills and development tracks over the 2 days of the event. This year's Congress included tracks that featured the theme mainstreaming the Internet of Things across 10 sectors. There were business case-led panel discussions on current industry problems in each track at the event. Live problem-solving sessions were a highlight of this edition. The healthcare track focused on realizing a comprehensive solution binding technology, policy, service, clinical, regulatory, insurance and government through Internet of Things applications.
More than 30% of the population is over 65 years, and it's still increasing. And also at the same time, we have decreasing population for the productive ages. We can be the hub for doing the co-creation, and also even the medical doctors can do something in addition to just doing the practice. If we can work together, I think the insight will be more. So I think finally I would like to stress the importance of the co-creation.
So the healthcare track, we had designed it around the theme of Ayushman Bharat because that's our new scheme that will take India towards universal health coverage. So we had 3 parts in that. We had the use case presentation of an actual IoT implementation so that people know that it is not something imaginary, something that is actually happening on ground. Then we had a panel discussion around how, if somebody has to set a health and wellness center of Ayushman Bharat, what are the challenges faced in it. And the third part was on future. So we had past, present and future. In the future we discussed about how the healthcare industry is moving and how it could, how IoT could be a center point in the technological evolution that is happening in healthcare.
In the standards and regulatory track, convergence of IoT-related technologies, challenges faced by the industry and the process of implementing standardized M2M IoT platform and wireless technologies were discussed.
Standardization is a way to escape this sort of spell that when the producer names a tune, the consumer has got to dance. No, in India you have very big projects, smart cities, digital India, etc., that are going to require a lot of development, and standardization is a way to be the owner of these projects.
So what we debated, various challenges the startup community is facing, why the uptake of this particular IoT is a bit fragmented and slow, what kind of challenges we foresee or we are seeing it today, how those challenges could be addressed.
The digital communications track offered a sneak peek into the current scenario and the future of IoT connectivity from the key players in the market. It also covered areas of network availability and service guarantee, which helped one choose the network and service most suited for one's application.
It's a good toy to have, okay? It's a good toy to maintain, and you will find quite a bit of challenges when you actually put the toy to the market.
We definitely believe at Airtel that 5G is going to be a game changer, especially when it comes to the perspective of IoT, because for all the requirements wherein we have requirements for low latency and high speed, 5G is going to be propelling a lot of use cases that were not heard of before.
It was a big picture. It's not only the pure connectivity or some dreams. The good one is IoT here, especially this Congress, is reality. You can see what people have done and where are the challenges and where we all together can learn from. I believe this is the most important and relevant part.
IoT India Congress 2019, the platform of platforms for the Internet of Things.
The fourth edition of the IoT India Congress saw a huge turnout of over 1650 visitors who flocked to watch some of the biggest names in the industry deliberate upon the future of IoT and to experience the applications of IoT firsthand. There was also an exhibition of real-life applications of IoT which was inaugurated by the chief guest for the event, Ajay Prakash Sahni, Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. The exhibitors displayed their products developed using IoT and included companies like Unlimit, Aeris, Siemens, Airtel, Philips Healthcare, Senra, Tata Communications and Semtech.
This year it's more of a actual proof that real projects are happening. There was a lot of build-up in the last few years on what the technologies are, what Internet of Things is, why is it important for India. But this year the companies that are out there and showing at their exhibits and booths are really showing real projects taking place.
On the energy track, topics like how one could deliver interoperable end-to-end solutions to solve challenges related to remote monitoring of tower assets and losses arising during power transmissions were discussed.
The transmission towers in the remote areas, and you have series of maybe hundreds of towers, and you see a pattern that 10 towers are leaning in certain direction. So such condition monitoring models can be built as a twin, and without being at the remote site, I can imagine in this room itself, in this hilly area, these are the 10 towers. I am getting a notification from my app that I have to physically visit a digital twin app and see what is happening there.
IoT can be really game changer to improve the quality of power as well as to reduce the cost of serving to the customer.
For the first time, there was a defense track included in the event which featured discussions on how military and defense establishments could allow commercial entities to play a part in their technical roadmap.
IoT is known to be very strong, very popular and very big in business potential. The fundamental changes and requirements and customizations that the technology requires before it is fielded into the Indian military system was the topic of discussion, and the panel discussed about the various processes, procedures and policies that any technology needs to be developed under.
It is unusual for conferences to have a track on defense. It was a session where we had many practitioners talk about how to get a defense contract and what are the challenges once you get a contract as well, what are the requirements which have to be met and the specificity of the criteria which have to be addressed.
The retail track delved into how IoT is disrupting the brick and mortar retail as well as its online avatar e-commerce. Conversations related to the kind of work that is currently happening in the retail space and what one could expect in the near future were also deliberated upon.
We can line up the things that people have said with the data that's coming out and get them to help us make sense of this, which means not only do we get a better understanding of human behavior, we get really good labeled data sets for doing machine learning, because that's often the bottleneck, and we get participants who are engaged in the research process. So they're not just passive consumers, they're actually helping us to make better things at the end of the day.
I think the track was brilliant. I've been associated with the IoT India Congress for a while now, wherein I was also part of the very first edition that happened by being part of the retail panel. From there to now, I think I've seen a significant progression. Given that retail itself is in its very nascent stages of IoT adoption, the journey from here onwards is only going to get better.
Day 2 also featured individual tracks on IoT applications in a few key sectors. The manufacturing track discussed the latest developments taking place in the field of manufacturing automation and the challenges associated with it.
Ability to actually predict a machine breakdown even before it breaks down means enormous amount of productivity gained. It also means that you are able to actually look at how you can interconnect the machines, and it's given a rise to a very, very exciting realm, which is in terms of actually manufacturing automation.
The track on agriculture focused on how IoT technologies and mobility solutions could help solve challenges related to insufficient and inefficient distribution, processing and infrastructure required for agri-produce. The higher education system in India is not geared up to manage the deluge of work change that technologies such as IoT continue to bring in boardrooms and drawing rooms alike. With the help of newly formed think tank Future of Work, discussions on how educational institutes and organizations could prepare for the future of work were deliberated upon.
I think we need to identify which are the risk areas in future of work that our companies will get impacted. So how do we future-proof our organizations? So that is what the kind of thing we were looking at.
The IET started the Future of Work, the event that we are going to do on the 22nd of October called Engineering the Future of Work. In Mumbai, on the 22nd of October, we will continue this conversation in much more detail.
The last track of the event was on how smart cities could bring to the forefront an integrated approach to management of smart cities operations, enable easy launch of services, facilitate interconnectivity of applications or systems, and automated actions.
B2B side, there is more of an investment in the technology that is to go from right from the government side. Just an example like the smart cities lighting, the street lighting. While on the B2C, majority of the consumption, if we see on the B2C sector, is due to the HVACs and different loads. There will be a significant amount of saving and controls, which a lot of sensors are available to control the HVAC environment.
You have smart water, smart gas. You can also have smart street lights, smart bill, smart manholes. So these are all some of the very pertinent use cases for India which have been implemented, and it's been proven. There is a appreciable increase of productivity for respective municipalities in adopting LoRa in trying to solve some of these use cases.
The president of the IET, Mike Carr, delivered the president's address.
Everybody aspires to the virtual hologram that can just sit here and I can chat to. And there isn't really technology around yet that can do that. There is in a smoke-filled room, but not as a display. And people are working on virtual reality type headsets in order to give that effect in the world. They're useful for some productivity activities. For the average user in entertainment, they're not useful.
Former founder, CEO and chairman of ARM Holdings, Sir Robin Saxby, delivered the super keynote on working towards success, experiences, lessons and tips.
And when we started ARM, I got headhunted to start ARM because Apple were putting money in. Acorn, the Acorn engineers had invented the technology, and Apple said, we won't put the money in until we found an experienced CEO. That's where I came along. ARM was started very lean, very mean, and it worked, right? That's the good news. Now, I retired from ARM in 2006-07, and actually I have to thank the IET. One of the problems of being the founding CEO of a company and chairman is what happens to the share price when you retire. And I became the president of the IET and said to the press, I'm going to be president of the IET. It's more or less a full-time job. Don't worry, Doug is taking over. I'm still going to be emeritus chairman. It's all fine. And the share price didn't move. So I have to thank the IET for that. And that's when I came to India. Now, you've probably noticed that ARM has been bought by SoftBank recently for about $32 billion. The seed money that went into ARM was £1.5 million from Apple, £250,000 from VLSI Technology, and that's quite a nice financial result if you're into finance. But more importantly, 150 billion ARM chips have been shipped.
The IoT India Congress 2019 also hosted the Thought Leadership Awards, which were given to luminaries for their excellence and leadership in the IoT space. In addition to this, the POP 91 Innovation Challenge Awards were also instituted to recognize and acknowledge teams that created the best working IoT solutions to address existing industry challenges across the 7 tracks.
we really worked on creating actual use cases, actual applications that the industry needs, and we got very positive feedback about that. We have had speakers from all across the world. We have had delegates from across the world. It's IoT, mainstreaming of IoT is really happening and has happened in this IoT India Congress. We do hope that in the coming edition, we will see all of you where we will have new things to talk about IoT. We'll most probably look at AI as a big way in our conference next year, and how it plays into the IoT and how it impacts the various industries and what work they do. We look forward to welcoming you in the next IoT India Congress.
IoT India Congress 2019, the platform of platforms for the Internet of Things. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.